So this is Amazon Bedrock. It's Amazon's answer to doing generative AI applications on AWS, and it gives you a single API for accessing a whole bunch of different foundational models. This includes some that I have not heard of or tried out, and ones that you're probably more familiar with, like Claude from Anthropic and Stable Diffusion. Why that's great for developers is that that means that we don't have a bunch of infrastructure that we have to manage. We don't have to install dependencies for any of these foundational models. We just push that all over to AWS and access what we need to access through a serverless API. So in this video, you're going to be using it in the Cloud Shell, and then I'll be showing you how you can get access to it from your own local Python scripts using Boto as well. So to get started, just click the Get Started button over in the right hand side there. If you're not within one of the regions that has access to this, you'll get a message like I did at the start of this, which basically says you need to change to a different region. I've changed to North Virginia, which is US East 1. First thing that you're going to need to do is to click on this model access and request access to at least one of the models providers that are available. So to do that, you click Edit, and you can just check to get access to the ones you want. The Anthropic one you'll need to fill out a request form for, stating your intended use of the model. And basically all this is doing throughout all of these is basically saying that you're agreeing to the pricing models that they've got there. After you've done that, this doesn't take too long at all. With the Anthropic request, it took me probably a couple of minutes for that to go through. Everything else, it probably took less than a minute for my access to be granted. You will get a huge number of emails if you request access to all of them. I think I've got 12 in total, which is a bit crazy, but then your access will be granted and you're able to get in and access any one of these models. So yeah, I've never used AI21 Labs before, but I'm able to access both these models, Jurassic 2 Mid and Jurassic 2 Ultra. If I just quickly say hi to it and run that, you can see there's text completion. It's just responded with, "How can I help you today?" which is great. If I come back to this and delete some of that output, I can actually get access to an API request that we might want to use. So this is the detail of a request that I would need to pass to Boto 3. So if I copy this and I come over to this script that I've got here, so this is how we would set up things locally, Boto 3. So we import Boto 3. This is just a notebook that I'm using locally with Python. I've got the Boto 3 library installed. I just create this Boto 3 client. It's using Bedrock runtime in the region that I'm using. And the keyword arguments element of this is what I've just copied. So I can just run that. And then we can invoke this and get a response. So we can see that this content that we're getting back is our streaming body response. And if you actually want to load that and have a look at it, we can load it using JSON. And we'd need to decode this properly. And we can see that our completion, which is my name is your name, and I am professional at your. I'm interested in connecting LinkedIn. Funny that it's been taken from LinkedIn by the looks of things. But we can see that you've got completion there and a bunch of different tokens generated along the way. So if we actually want to drill down into that and get the completion itself, then we need to select the completions and select the first element of that, the data within that, and the text within that. So we can see that if we do that, we get my name is your name, and I am a professional at your company, blah, 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 blah. What's interesting about this is that we now have the option of being able to switch this out for different models. So we've got all these different text completion models that we can use. We can switch it out to Anthropic, say, and say use Claude, and we can run it there as well. Claude uses a slightly different format, and so it prefaces everything with human. I'm going to just bin that. So if we copy that API request as well, we can just literally pull it over into here with a keyword arguments, run that, and you can see that we're just using the same format, but we're just using a different model ID. We run that and get a response back, and we get the same streaming model response. And we can see that the completion is just saying hello when it comes back. And so we can see actually the structure that's coming back is slightly different. The response body is just a completion. So in this case, all we need to do to get the response poorly back is print out the completion like that. But that's really cool because actually the keyword arguments that we've used are very similar to one another. We're just using a different body argument there with the human element to it. We also have, at some point, we can have the option for the Amazon ones as well, but neither of these models are currently available. If you go to model access, can't actually get access to that at the moment. So if we jump over into the examples here, so we've got something a bit larger, we can see here that this is an example that summarizes the content that is being put in. So we've got a prompt, a huge load of text, and we're saying, can you please summarize this in 5 bullet points? Now, something to note here is that this particular API request that's on the examples page is not escaped. So you can see that this is getting messed up. If you were to try and copy it directly from here, in fact, actually, you can just do it from that. It's not going to work. It's going to throw a wobbly. So when you jump into the playground there, this API request is actually properly escaped. So tip there is not to copy from the examples page directly. So if we now run that keyword arguments, and you can see that response taking 2 seconds there. So it's quite a hefty ask that we've got of it. It's got quite a lot of work to do behind the scenes. So we can see that we've got this completion object as well, but this again is going to be the completions, I believe. We're going to have to change that back. So let's try that. There we go. So we can print that out a little bit nicer there. So we've got it formatted on different lines. So we've got the 5 bulleted points that we're talking about there. Like I said, this is taking some time to actually respond. We could take this and get a streaming response. So this, at the moment, when we have the option of invoking the model with a response stream. So we take those keyword arguments that we just had. So we're in a different notebook now. We are using the AI21 model. So actually I'm going to switch to Anthropic because I don't believe that the streaming response works with this. Let me just check. Or at least it doesn't work in the same format. You can see that we've got a problem there, but I have found that this was running okay in Claude. So I'm going to grab the Claude 2 request to give an example of streaming. Let's clear that. So if we invoke this model with the response stream, you can see that I am iterating over each event of this response stream and spitting out the chunks as we get them, and you can see them appearing here. So we get this bytes object that we need to do something with. So in this final one, let's let that finish. So in this final one, we're just going to run the same thing and then load the data that's coming back and get the completion part of it and print that out instead. So you will basically get a far faster time to response rather than having to wait, say, 20 seconds for a response. So if you take that same query there, so yeah, if we run this same set of prompts here, give it the keyword arguments, we invoke the model, get the response, 6.2 seconds before anything happens. If we were to do the same here, we start getting a response after about 4 seconds there, and we get it spin. Obviously it's going to vary because depending on what's going on with my network and the internet, etc, etc. So I have found that on a couple of occasions that I was getting the assistant output in the API requests that were copied in from the playground, so beware of that. I would make sure that you're copying requests when you don't have any output from the model within the playground. The other thing that we can do is, obviously we've got Stable Diffusion here. We can ask it to generate images for us. So I'm going to ask it developer working. I have no idea if Canon 5D is even a camera off the top of my head. I'm just guessing based on prompts that I've seen in the past. And then we have a developer working on a keyboard with an interesting hands going on. So not quite mastered the hands yet, Stable Diffusion. So we also have the chat interface that we can use from any one of these models. So we can chat with it and ask it a question. I'm doing well, how about you? Good, thanks, up to much. So Sean, good, thanks, how are you? Looking forward to hearing from you soon. Best your name. If that's not a generic response, I do not know what is. We're also able to fine tune models. I'm not going to get into that here, but it's as simple as loading things from S3 buckets. So put your data in S3 bucket and you can fine tune a model. So if you're interested in learning more about that, then give me a shout and I'll try and make another video on it. So yeah, I'm pretty interested in seeing how people use Amazon Bedrock. It's very early days as it's only just been put into general availability. Let me know what you're thinking of building with it or going to build with it. And yeah, I'll speak to you in a new video soon. All right, bye for now.